They've made moves. Xander Bogaerts, they got Machado, they got Tatis. They didn't keep Juan Soto. And to their defense, Juan Soto was not playing well in San Diego. But you look at pitching, they got Yu Darvish. They absolutely fleeced the White Sox for Dylan Cease. Musgrove. I mean, they have made all of the moves to be the best team and compete with the Dodgers, and they just can't do it, and I find it laughable. It is comical to me how poor this team has performed year after year. Machado's batting 239, Bogart's 219, Kim 219, Eddie Rosario they just brought in this year 211.
All About the Balls podcast
with Mark Davis, Jake Winnikine, and Nick the Doc Skirkowitz.
Welcome back to the Sack House. I'm Mark Davis. That's right. This is All About the Balls podcast, and I'm joined alongside my wonderful friend Nick the Doc Skirkowitz, and we're here to talk our weekly talk of the Major League Baseball Association. That's right. Baseball's heating up. It's April 14th at the time of this recording. The Dodgers are playing the Padres. Right now, Sunday Night Baseball. But before we jump into any baseball talk whatsoever, Doc, how are you doing tonight?
Oh, dude, good to be back. I know I was on that live show. I know I've been out for a little while, but dealing with some stuff on the personal side of things. So good to be back here, man. Ready for a great show. How you doing, Mark? How are you doing?
I'm doing great. You know, the Masters was this week. Scotty Scheffler, congrats.
Rough
Two-time
number 5
Masters
for Tiger.
champion. Yeah, it was rough for Tiger, but Scotty, my boy from Texas, Longhorn alum, is now two-time champion 2 out of 3 years. So huge shout out to Scotty. He's definitely heads above heels, better than anybody else. There's no one right now challenging Scotty Scheffler for that top spot in golf.
Yeah, absolutely.
But no, yeah, it's a great weekend. Yankees took 2-3 against the Guardians, so another series win. We have not lost a series yet. We won every series since we started the last 2 weeks. So I mean, it's good to be a Yankees fan right now. I know the White Sox are struggling. We're going to talk about all these teams, all of the things coming out soon. But yeah, it's been a great week for me for baseball. Great week for sports in general.
Yeah, well, I will not have a great week for baseball. I just won't.
Well, let's talk baseball, Doc. You know, and we have some surprises out there. You know, just in general, you know, the baseball started just a little over 2 weeks ago on that Thursday. And at the moment, just reading off your division leaders, you have the Yankees at 12-4. You have the Guardians just a half a game over the Royals at 10-5. The Rangers are at 8-8, struggling AL West, Doc. And then the NL East, in general, the NL East and the NL West are struggling. The NL East, you have the Braves at 9-5. And then the Dodgers at right now 11-6, currently playing, like I said. And then you have the Brewers and the NL Central tied with the Pittsburgh Pirates. They're 10-4. The Brewers and the Pirates are 11-5, just based on the game percentages. They're tied. But I guess, like I said, it's on fire this season so far, and it's a lot of surprises. Like, what surprises are you looking at just a little over 2 weeks in?
Oh, dude, I mean, there's so many. I mean, the Yankees are off to a roaring start. Not that the Yankees are a bad team by any means, but with Garrett Cole going down, I don't think anybody saw maybe this start coming from the Yankees. You and I talked a little bit before the show. The competition coming out of the Central has been unreal.
Both Centrals. Both.
Yeah.
Central.
Baltimore looking like a baseball team again, which has been a nice change of pace. The struggles out of the AL West, which we'll talk about a little bit later. And then honestly, at this point, like, I want to say the Padres, but at this point, I'm not even surprised anymore. I'm not even surprised. I'm going to hit on the Padres, you know, as we go around the horn with the divisions. But let's start it off with the AL East and what I kind of started hinting on with the Yankees. I know that it was one of the questions you had posed for the week of the Yankees, the best team in baseball. And given that is your team, I want to give you the opportunity to speak on that first before I kind of jump in.
I mean, if you're going based on 2 weeks in, so we're only averaging like 4.9 runs a game, something like that. So we're not like offensively, we're not like a huge juggernaut. I mean, we are a plus 21.
You only need one run. You only need one run to win a game.
Yeah, it's true. You only need to win one. If you have a shutout, one run's all it takes. But I mean, our pitching, for what was question marks. The Yankees pitching has always been a question mark for like the last probably a good decade or so. I mean, no Garrett Cole to start the season. He's ahead of schedule at the moment. That's good. But you have Stroman. Yeah, had a bad outing against Miami. I understand it's baseball. It was at the time the worst baseball team in the league. But, he's still over a little over 2 ERA. Carlos Rendon looking like his San Francisco Giants days, man. He's under 2 ERA. And then Cortez
Let's watch your mouth. Looking like his White Sox days before he went to the Giants, okay?
Yeah, but we got him from the Giants, so that's why I said that. But no, just he's looking good. Gill's looking good as the fifth. We'll see what happens when Cole comes back. Schmidt. Our problem, in my opinion, for the Yankees pitching is we find ourselves in a lot of high pitch counts where we're just not finishing off batters quick enough. So they don't pitch as many innings.
That's across the board. That's across the board, though. I mean, nobody's really pitching. No, hardly anybody's averaging more than 6 innings a game.
I mean, I think it's us. The Yankees are actually the best team at baseball at seeing most pitches per at bat. We've been running counts up for our offense. Now our Judge has been starting off slow. He's a little over 200 batting average, but Stanton had a hot week and a half. Soto and Volpe are two of the best hitters right now in baseball. I mean, yeah, we did lose today, but Volpe was clutch and at the top of the ninth where he fucking pretty much got us back in to go to extra innings after we blew a 3-0 lead. But AL East, yeah, Boston's right there. Surprisingly, Boston is in second place.
Yeah, that's a shock.
Well, them and Baltimore's actually in second. Boston's pitching is number one. That's what I meant to say. So surprisingly, Boston's making a name for themselves. But no, at the moment, I think we are the best pitching. Offense, we're not, because you have Atlanta and the Dodgers. We're going to talk about the Dodgers and the Braves. But
you guys are teams. Offensively. I mean, there is a lot of issues with the Yankees offensively. I mean, Volpe off to a great start. You take Volpe out of the mix. Soto has the potential to do this every single year. Volpe's in his second full season. Soto has the potential to do this every year. This is kind of the Soto that we saw in Washington, went to San Diego, and we didn't really see it replicate in San Diego. So now coming to more of a home versus going to San Diego on that, with a couple years of team control left and not really sure what was going to happen. You knew on that trade that the Padres were not going to be able to afford you with everything else that they were pushing money into. So you knew that you weren't going to be staying there long term. So now that you're in an organization, you feel like you can be there long term. Obviously they still got to work out a deal, but Soto just a lot of pressure off. You know what I mean? Doesn't have to really prove much right now. The Yankees will pay to keep him if they can, if they're happy with him. So,
and he's loving New York. And he's loving that New York pressure. I mean, a lot of people, because when you come to New York, I mean, you've seen it, Doc. It's either do you live to the pressure or do you fold? And he loves it, man. He fits it. I mean, he fits New York. I mean,
he's got the ego to do it. He's got the ego to do it. I mean, that's clear. But nice to see Volpe coming out strong this year. Young kid, I really like him. But after that, I mean, there's a lot of concern. I mean, Anthony Rizzo is. I'm happy with the 274 from Rizzo. If I'm looking at him historically, Stanton 250 is probably higher than what you would expect from him. Not by much, but probably higher than what you expect from him.
And he started off slow too, Doc. Like I said, the last week and a half, he's been since the Diamondbacks.
He's like a career 200 hitter the last 5-6 years. I mean, it's.
Yeah, I told Jake, as long as if I can get Stanton around 250 to 260, I'm happy. Honest, I'll be thrilled because he'll hit his 25 home runs, whatever he's gonna have. But he seems after that in the middle of the Diamondback series when he started getting pressure, he's kind of seemed like the Blue Jays. He started getting in rhythm a little bit, confident.
But you start looking at the rest of this team, Verdugo, Birdie, Judge. I mean, Birdie hasn't played too much, I don't think.
No, Birdie.
Yeah, he's only played a handful of games. But Judge, Torres, I mean, this team's got to figure it out, man. This team's got to figure out. There's a lot of question marks going on right now. Both the catchers, not tag teaming very well, combined 140 average between the two of them. So offensively, a lot of question marks right now with the Yankees. We are still early. I think if you're talking about power rankings, I mean, power rankings, the Yankees, in my opinion, are the best team in baseball right now. They got the best record, biggest lead in the division.
I'm not worried about Judge.
We're also 2 weeks in. We're also 2 weeks. I am worried about Judge, and
because the reason why I'm not, Doc, is because A-Rod used to have slow starts every single. Now, Judge is a slow start in his career, but A-Rod used to have slow starts every April, and it started to show around the end of April, beginning of May. He started to get warmer. His bat got hotter, and that's what.
But you've got to remember,
Judge too, his bat looks good. He's hitting hard hit balls. It's just he's hitting it right at people.
But you've got to remember, this is not a guy that is a perennial 300 hitter. This is a guy that has I mean, 280 is not the end of the world. You know what I mean? But this is the guy that's hit 300 once in his career. You know what I mean? So this is a guy that if he comes out slow at 207, that's something that can easily take shape for him. He's not a guy that, like you said, normally starts slow. I would say average-wise, he normally runs slow all season long. You know what I'm saying? There's a guy that's going to get you some doubles. He's going to get you some home runs, and that's about it. So it was a nice change of pace in 2021 and 2022, kind of getting that average up and above 300. Last season kind of reverted back with that 267, now down to 207 this year. Is he trying too hard for the long ball? You know, he broke the AL record. He beat Roger Maris, you know, the AL MVP awards and everything else. I don't think that's the case.
Yeah, it's definitely not the case now.
But he's definitely got to find his stride. And I mean, the average concern is always going to be there for me. You and I have talked about this for years. There's been a lot of inconsistencies with the average and his overall offensive numbers outside of the home run and the double. So, you know, I'd like to see him get back to that 2022 or even 2021 287 day and, you know, see him get on base a little bit more. So, yeah, I mean, power numbers or power rankings, yeah. I mean, Yankees number one right now, in my opinion. But, again, we're 2 weeks in. Overall, top to bottom, best team in baseball. Still going to be the Dodgers for me.
Yeah, I mean, and I guess we could talk about the Dodgers. I mean, they're like, Doc, I mean, I know Ohtani was kind of quote-unquote slow start the gates, but if you look at and Muncy's kind of now the worst out of the six, but batting where he's at batting fifth, still like around 260 or something like that. I mean, if you look at the Dodgers 1 through 6, you know, starting off, you have Mookie Betts, one of the best players in baseball, Shohei Ohtani, Freddie Freeman, Will Smith, who does not get enough love. He's honestly one of the more underrated players.
356. The
Yeah,
guy's hammering it right now.
After Smith, you have Muncy, and then you have Hernandez, who they just got from the Blue Jays this year. Like, that's a good 1 through 6. Now, I wasn't 100% sure on the 6 hitter, but number 6 is playing hard right now. The Dodgers just seem like they're unstoppable, and they're pitching. They don't have Buehler yet. I mean, they're going to get Buehler back. So, like, it's just the Dodgers seem it's inevitable that they are the team to beat. I mean, it's literally the Dodgers versus everybody else, in my opinion. It still is.
100%. This was a team that I thought was one of the top teams on paper last year. And what did they do? They went out, they got Ohtani, they got Yamamoto. I mean, they got Teoscar Hernandez. I mean, this is a team that improved in so many areas. I know how they afforded it because they're only paying Ohtani technically $2 million a year right now. But like you said, Muncy having some struggles, 27 strikeouts, batting 246. And honestly, 246 is not good. But I mean, in terms of where like the MLB average is right now, it's not awful either. You know what I mean? Like 230 to 240 is kind of the MLB average these days. I expect that to go up a little bit with kind of how they've reverted on the shift in the rules. But Teoscar Hernandez, I've always liked Teoscar Hernandez. I mean, for a guy that's batting 292 and to strike out 26 times and 64 ABs or something like that. I mean, the guy, it's like a base hit or strikeout, it seems like, for this guy. So kind of fun to watch.
He's putting the ball in play, and that's all you can ask. I mean,
when he hits it, yeah, but the problem is he struck out 26. He's striking out almost 50% of the time. Same thing with Muncy, but no, like you said, top to bottom, 1 to 6, this is the best hitting team in baseball. We're seeing some surprises. I'm not really going to count Austin Barnes. He's only played a couple of games, but I mean, Smith is doing more than I ever thought he would. Freeman is right where he's at for his career. Ohtani, I think, is average-wise hitting better than he ever has before, obviously. Mookie Betts, it won't sustain, but Mookie Betts is on fire.
It helps when you have Freeman batting behind you because you have to pitch to Ohtani, and then you have to pitch to Mookie. I mean, that's perfect the way they stack it. I mean, you have 4 guys over 300 right now at the time of this recording. That's 1 through 4. I mean, and like
five.
Last night, is it 5?
No, 4. Yeah, because we're not counting Barnes.
Yeah. Just because he hasn't played enough games. But still,
one knocking on the door with Hernandez.
Yeah, you have Hernandez there, and the thing is, if those guys 7 through 9, like last night against the Padres on Saturday night, you saw them have a crazy cool comeback or a crazy game because you had a guy get on and the top or the bottom third of the lineup. And that gave Mookie Betts a chance to drive a run in. And then, bam, that's all you need the Dodgers to do is if you can just get someone on the 7 through 9 to hit decent and get on base, like maybe that second leadoff hitter, like number 9, and then you turn the batting order back over, it's all lights out for the Dodgers. At the moment, I mean, I think the only thing that can stop the Dodgers is themselves. That's playoff pitching when we get there.
Well, it's playoff pitching. It's going to be injury. I mean, That's going to be the biggest thing in baseball is always going to be the injury. Baseball is not a sprint; it's a marathon, and that's what always seems to knock teams down. We've seen it with the Yankees, we've seen it with my team, with the White Sox every year. I mean, our big three are hurt like we are every single year between Robert, Jimenez, and Mancada, who really isn't even a big three, but he is now because we suck. But yeah, it's going to be the long-term stability, the injuries, and then obviously Mookie Betts is not going to hold the 364 average. But I'm more concerned about Will Smith. When is he going to cool off and that average drop down to 250 for the year? You know what I'm saying? That's where it's going to start to hurt. So like you said, yeah, the Dodgers are the only team that are going to stop the Dodgers right now, I think. But again, we're 2 weeks in, so it's going to be going to be a long road. It's going to be a fun road.
And that's what I'm saying. Baseball's on fire. I mean, it honestly is like now that I have the MLB TV once again, and the big inning. By the way, I'm glad that Jake put me on that. Like, I am excited to watch baseball. Like every single night, I'm watching Yankees when they're not on. I'm watching the big inning, or I'm finding the best game on, depending on how late the game is. And I've been paying a lot more attention this year. And like you said, the Dodgers, they're loaded. The Yankees, I mean, I'm excited. Last year, I was a little upset just because we had a lot of issues going on. But watching both the Texas teams, they're struggling right now. I want to hit on that. Like Houston, I know they start off slow a lot, but
fuck Houston.
Well, I'm not gonna say
Houston
I'm
can lose every game for the rest of the year, and I would be just fine with that.
Like, I'm not concerned as in I want them to do good. But as a baseball fan, as in someone that watches the game, I was very high on Houston this year. I really thought that they were going to be a good team that can maybe come out hot the gate. And I mean, yeah, Jose Altuve's batting good, and Pena's batting good, and so is Alvarez, and even their catcher. But it's just for some reason they're not winning games. They are atrocious right now. I mean, I just don't get it.
No, I want them to lose nonstop until everybody from that cheat year is gone.
So once they're all gone, you're okay with them.
Then they can start winning again. I don't care.
I just don't.
But there's an asterisk next to that team that'll never go away from me. As long as anybody that was a part of that is on that team still.
I mean, their pitching is the second to worst pitching. So that's what it is. I mean, right now they are rocking like a 5-something ERA. So they have the offense.
Let's see if we can get it to 7 for the year.
Let's double. Let's get 10 actually. Fuck it. No, I mean
they had that rough game against the Rangers that gave up 12 runs.
Yeah, it's just and the Rangers too, defending World Series champions. They're struggling out the gate too. The whole AL West, honestly, and AL West.
I mean, let's talk about the Rangers for a minute though, because I think the Rangers are more playing where they belong, in my opinion. I mean, I don't know. I'm not saying the Rangers are not. I mean, the Rangers are a good team. I don't think that they were World Series quality last year. I mean, I think they had a good playoff run. They made it work where they needed to, which is what it's all about. And I guess in a way that makes you a World Series team, but they were not the deserving team, if that makes sense, I guess. But
the best team all year. I know what you're saying. They weren't the best team all year.
Yeah, so I think, I mean, the Rangers right now, I think, are kind of playing kind of where they belong. They're not record wise, but I mean, overall, they're playing where they belong. They're capable of winning the division. They're capable of being above that 500 team, but I just don't see another deep playoff run from them. Corey Seager is hammering the ball. I mean, they could probably prove that wrong this year because they do got some perennial talent that's coming up from the minor leagues, some young guys that are making debuts, and Wyatt Langford, Evan Carter. Real excited to see these guys. So I mean, the potential is there, but they got to prove with the youngsters that they got.
Well, I mean, they're one of the better hitting teams, like you said. They're in the middle of the pack with pitching. I mean, and we mentioned, Doc, you weren't there when me and Jake were talking. Can they survive to start the first half of the season without a Scherzer, without a Jacob deGrom? Because we're going to get those guys back, very soon, probably around the All-Star break time, maybe just before that. So I think if they can survive and kind of be in the front of the pack or even second in the division when those two get back, depending on if those two actually go back to their form a little bit or just right below their form, Texas could find themselves back on like a good little run. Like I said, they're not playing bad. They're just not. It's bad to say. They're not playing bad. They're just not winning games. They're 500 right now, but they're one of the better teams in both categories, hitting and pitching.
Yeah, and you kind of touched on it. What we were talking about earlier with injuries and everything. That's such a big part of this game. It's hard to talk about when you get a guy like the Grom back because I mean, reality is he's gone more than he's here. You know what I'm saying? This is a guy that is historically injured every single year. I think he's got only one full season, maybe two, under his belt. So you're never gonna base your season off of how we are with DeGrom. And then Scherzer, it's going to come down to he's getting up there in age and losing some off of that fastball. So it's going to be, how well is he going to tailor that breaking pitch, kind of like what we saw with Greinke, what we saw with what we see with Verlander. Is this a guy that's going to be able to master the art of that breaking ball to keep his team ahead and keep himself ahead in the count because the fastball is not going to be there. We saw him closing games out in the World Series last year, in the playoffs last year. So, what kind of role is he going to come back to? I would hope to see a starting role. I think he's still got enough juice in there, but he's got to evaluate that Verlander and see and harbor his inner Justin.
I would love to see DeGrom and Scherzer. I mean, I have a lot of love for Scherzer. Like I said, I've seen him throw a no-hitter in person. So
Yeah.
I love I just love watching him play on TV too. You can see like the energy he brings, the fire he
Oh
brings.
yeah,
He's phenomenal.
no,
He's
big
phenomenal
Scherzer
to
fan.
watch.
Big Scherzer fan.
I mean,
But-
and same thing with DeGrom. I mean, if DeGrom can just stay healthy, like he's one of the best. I mean, he's definitely one of the best pitchers in baseball when he's on the field. But like you said, it's there. But like
when he's on the field, but that's the problem. He's never on the field. But I think what you were asking, biggest surprises of the season. I got to say, my biggest surprise probably is going to be the Astros. On paper, the Astros are bringing back a lot of what they had last year. So seeing this start is uncharacteristic of them. I'm thrilled. I love it. I want to see it continue. But again, it's not something that we expected. So we'll see how the rest of the season shapes up. Again, we got to remember we're 2 weeks into this thing. So a lot of things are bound to change. Hopefully the White Sox don't. This stupid fucking lottery that we do now, there goes our number one draft pick because we're the worst team in baseball. But we also can't develop a farm system. So, not like that first draft pick would go anywhere anyways.
Yeah, I mean, I just feel like before we finish off with the Texas teams is if Houston can figure out the pitching, they're dangerous. Now, like I said, we're 2 weeks in. They have plenty of time. Like you said, it's not a sprint. It's a marathon.
Yep.
So we'll see what they can do, Doc. I mean, but you mentioned, I think Houston might be one of my biggest surprises. But if you're asking me my biggest surprises, it's the Kansas City Royals and the Detroit Tigers. I legit, I had no confidence in the Tigers and Royals. I thought it was going to be a Guardians and a Minnesota Twins division. Not saying they were going to be great teams, but I felt like it was going to be a two-race team between those two. And I mean, it's so bad, Doc. I don't really know much talent on the Royals and the Tigers. I mean, I get the Guardians have some pieces there. I still name some of the guys up there, but the Tigers and the Royals, man, good for Perez and good for Bobby Witt Jr. for the Royals, though. I love seeing those guys play. But outside them two, man, I can't name much out of Kansas City, and I damn sure can't name much out of the Detroit Tigers.
Well, that's the thing. The Tigers and the Royals are both very young teams. Garrett Hampson's made his way over from Colorado, I think it was. He's been in the league a few years now. But, I mean, Bobby Witt Jr., Pascatino, trying to see who they have.
Yeah, I was looking at – because we were supposed to do this a couple nights ago. I was looking up, because I haven't really caught much Kansas City action this year outside of what they're on. But, I mean, you have – I don't know if you mentioned Garcia. He's balling right no, I'm not sorry, not Garcia. I mean – Belquez, the right fielder, he's having a good year this year, batting .314, and then even Melendez in left field batting .277. So it's just
MJ Melendez, another one.
Yeah, he's out there as well. I mean, and like you said, the old vet Perez, man, Salvador is arguably one of my favorite players. As he's gotten older, he's one of my favorite players to watch. I mean, he gains that respect from me. I think he gains that respect from probably anybody that watches the baseball.
Who'd you say was having a great year? Garcia?
No, I corrected myself. It was Hernandez and I'm sorry, it was Valquez and Melendez were having good years this year, but they've only played. Yeah, it was those two.
Velasquez, yeah.
I mean, but these guys, I don't watch Kansas City. Before this year, I wasn't really paying attention to the Kansas City Royals.
Here's the thing, though. I want to say. It's been a pleasant surprise. The Kansas City Royals and the Detroit Tigers are both very young teams, both touting prospects that are making their way up. Tigers especially, Riley Green, Torkelson, Cole Keith is up there now. Javier Baez, obviously not a prospect, but I mean, for the success this team is having with Javier Baez doing traditional Javier Baez things, it's nice to see them finding ways to get on top. Because Baez, Tigers are going to regret that for a long time. But no, Carpenter, Parker Meadows. I mean, a lot of young guys coming up for these teams. But here's the thing. I want to say, yes, this is like the most pleasant surprise for the AL Central, right? But you got to look at this division top to bottom. The Guardians don't have much. The Guardians are getting rid of a lot of pieces. I think Shane Bieber's out. Shane Bieber is out.
He is out.
I didn't look up to see what the determination was on the timeline. I don't know if he's out for the year or if surgery's going to be required.
He got Tommy John.
Did he get Tommy John? Okay. Yeah. So he's done. I mean, the Guardians still have great pitching. Bibby's still there. There's a couple of guys that are still. That's one thing that the Guardians have been doing well for years is producing good pitching in their farm system. The Twins are kind of like middle of the road. I mean, they're kind of quiet in the last couple of years as far as additions and player changes. But for as much as I want to give the Royals and Tigers credit, dude, this division is just weak. There is nothing. No. This division is up for grabs. It is weak. The Royals, Tigers, Guardians, I don't care how well they play, this division is weak. I mean, the White Sox are 2-13. The Twins are losing. I mean, honestly, this division is up for grabs. I'm not looking for anything special.
The Twins would win. The Twins would win games that could score more because, I mean, obviously, fucking John Madden reference there. But no, I mean, if you look at the pitching staffs, 3 through 6 in MLB, Doc, or the whole AL Central, the White Sox are towards the bottom. I mean, you literally have the Guardians, the Twins, the Tigers, and the Royals. Not in that order necessarily, but they're all 3 through 6. Their pitching is phenomenal. Now, I mean, the Twins aren't winning games. I mean, their offense, if there's a little better, they can maybe get in games. But for Kansas City, and Detroit, which I was hearing a lot of rumors that Detroit is a surprise team. Like they were asking people like bold predictions, and they said that Detroit would be a team that would be like Arizona Diamondbacks of last year. They'd be there maybe a year or two too early. Now, I'm not saying they're going to sustain this, but it's sort of looking like a lot of people, like a lot of the experts that I was listening to before the season, they might be correct. Maybe Detroit is here to be, a year or two too early with the young guns.
I think it is. I mean, coming into this, you're looking at the teams that are up and coming that are going to be great. You had the Diamondbacks. You got the Tigers. Royals still need a couple more pieces, but they're getting there. You got the Orioles. You got the Pirates.
Reds, too. Reds are up there.
Reds are coming up there. So these are teams that have traditionally been at the bottom of the barrel for the last several years and are starting to now build holistic teams. We saw it with Houston in their rise to the top. They built it through the draft, signed a couple of key pieces when they needed to, international free agency. But like you said, I mean, and this is to go to show how strong this division is. The Twins, like you said, pitching is actually pretty solid for the Twins. I'm not gonna lie, but you got Correa's leading it at 306, Krylov 295, and who do you got on this team? Martin 240, Byron Buxton is
he's
trying to put the team on his back apparently at 196. Eduardo Julian 196, Manuel Margot 194. I mean, this is not a good team. Carlos Santana 125. There's a reason he hasn't been able to find a home for the last several years. Max Kepler is, I don't know if he's hurt, but he hasn't been playing too much, but that's been kind of a surprise. But I mean, this team is just weak. This whole, not the team, the division is just weak. And looking, let's look at Detroit and Kansas City with the stats and everything. I mean, yes, it is surprising where they're at. I think that they are ahead of what anybody expected. Gio Urshela batting 310, Veerling 297, Carpenter 270. I mean, offensively they're not playing. Riley Green 236, Torkelson 222, Keith 208. Let's go now to the Royals because.
And by the way, I've always liked your, obviously being a former Yankee, but I wish we would have kept Urshela back when we got Josh Donaldson. I was pissed when we got rid of Urshela for Josh Donaldson. I felt like that kind of killed some of the core because Urshela was young and he was a good fielding third baseman. And in New York, he was actually hitting the ball pretty well. And then we fucking got rid of him. So I wish we would have kept Urshela. I think Urshela is a good piece to have. I'm not saying build around him, but
no, you guys focus on keeping shit that you shouldn't have kept, like who is that fucking catcher? Why am I drawing a blank on him?
So what's up?
Who is your shit catcher that y'all had? Why am I drawing a blank on his name?
Gary Sanchez.
Gary Sanchez.
Yeah. He was,
Yeah,
he
you
was
wanted to
good
focus.
for,
You wanted
he
to
was a
focus
local-
on keeping him and what's his nuts out in center field that just was nothing but a headache and a distraction for the team.
Aaron Hicks.
No, not Aaron Hicks. The 45-year-old that y'all just kept for way too long.
Brett Gardner.
Gardner, yeah. Gardner, the dude that just pounds his bat on the top of the dugout when he's throwing his little temper tantrum, dude.
I like Gardner, but I was biased. That's a
Gardner.
he's a
I mean,
local-
that's the
He's a
energy
guy.
you want. That's the energy you want. But there was a lot. Like Gardner was not a top talent in the league to be acting like that. A veteran and a guy that just disagreed with everything, whether he was right or wrong. I mean, it was like, I don't know, every week he was getting thrown out and arguing something that was like, dude, just relax. Just relax.
No, I mean,
But he had a passion for the team, and you got to respect that at least.
he was a clubhouse guy, and every clubhouse needs guys like that are. And I'm not gonna lie. I'm like, for example, like a manager like Aaron Boone. I'm not a huge Aaron Boone guy, as like because he does a lot of decisions I don't agree with. But when it comes to the players, he's there for the players. He's
He's a team guy, yeah.
so like it depends on. I mean, obviously he hasn't won, and he has his moments where he leaves pitchers in too long. His situational baseball sometimes is in question, but he'll support the players. I mean, shit, he gets ejected almost every other fucking week. It seems like he's always barking at the umps.
Oh, I just got a YouTube notification to watch the short on his first of the year. That was exciting.
He just told the umpire to get your fucking head out your ass, essentially, from the dugout. It was a lot of outside.
That's what he always says. That's what he always, dude. And it's always the same argument when it's mic'd up too. It's always the same argument. We're battling back. My guys are trying to win this. You're taking it from them. Like he's always got the same thing that he's saying.
Yeah, it was great, but
and then he gets the gum throw.
Yeah, he's always gonna get the gum.
Always chucking the gum, dude. I love it.
No, yeah, he's a class act, but
he's the next Bobby Cox, buddy.
God, yeah, he's on pace to fucking be the Yankees.
Oh, he is. He's on pace to break that.
If we keep him, he'll have it one day. But no, that's the AL Central, Doc, and the NL Central too, man. Like we don't have to touch too long on them, but I was telling Jake both Centrals I was not too high on. But damn, Pittsburgh, which they were competing early on last year, the first 2.5 months, Pittsburgh was a decent team. Then they fell off. The youth injuries with Cruz also there as well.
That hurt. They got more pieces though this year too.
Yeah, McCutcheon.
And I'm expecting Skeens to make his way up there real soon. I think that this team is going to be competing in a way that they can't afford to keep Skeens in the minor leagues all year long.
And shout out to Andrew McCutcheon. He's hit 300 earlier today. So congrats on McCutcheon doing that. I love McCutcheon, but the Reds too, like they're there too, and so are the Brewers. Like the NL Central, the Cubs they're quietly hanging, like they're just quietly there.
Yep.
Cardinals are the Cardinals. Fuck them. I mean, we're going St. Louis.
Well, dude, Cardinals is they're tough, man, because they've got a lot of money wrapped up in age. A lot of old guys shedding Yadi or Molina. I mean, listen, I love Yadi. Yadi was a staple to the sport, but the guy to go. They held on to him. I mean, you're not in the business of keeping a guy around just because of how long he played here. Look at what happened with Pujols, right? You couldn't afford Pujols. You had to let him go. I mean, they could have afforded him, but they don't want to pay him that much. You let him go. He went to Anaheim, had a couple of good years, started shitting the bed, fizzled out in L.A. before coming back to the Cardinals, I think, for his last year.
Yeah,
that's where you kind of bring him back for that last, contract to retire as, But Pittsburgh, we talked about bottom barrel for years, finally getting the draft picks, finally producing. Cincinnati doing the same thing. The Cubs have a strong farm system. Cubs have a strong farm. I'm expecting to see them, competing in this division for the next several years. But St. Louis, man, we talk about guys like Wainwright, guys like they have Molina. I mean, there's so much age in this team. Carpenter they had for a long time. There's so much age in this team that's like, man, you guys have got to start shedding some of these players, getting rid of some of these guys, start getting the youth up there. Jordan Walker, there's Joshua Baez. There's so much talent and potential for this team in the minor leagues, but they got to make room for them. They got to make room. Arenado still has some time. Goldschmidt's getting up there. I think he's still got a couple of years left though, but it's going to be time to start looking at getting, moving beyond him. Even Arenado, if I'm not mistaken, I think Arenado's having a very slow start to the year.
St. Louis in general, I mean, like you said, Doc, the Cubs, real quick. I mean, while you're looking that up, I mean, I'm excited to see the Cubs. Suzuki, from the Cubs.
Oh, he's not
Right?
doing bad.
Who, Arenado?
Yeah,
He's
no,
usually,
273.
he's
It might have been
usually
last year. I was thinking. I don't remember.
he's usually consistent though. Arenado is, but
But
no,
looking at this team, though, I mean, the rookies are fucking struggling, dude. Mason Wynn is off to a hot start. Love to see that from Mason Wynn. I'm a big fan so far of him. Nolan Gorman is struggling. Jordan Walker, dude, I don't know what is going on with Jordan Walker. He's struggling.
their bats are just in general. The Cardinals'
They are.
bats overall are just like, I mean, they're pitching phenomenal. They've only given up 70 runs, but they've only scored 61. So like right there,
And then-
that's a testament.
And
to
then what was I
it.
saying about Carpenter? And what was I saying about Carpenter? They finally shed Carpenter. What did they do? They brought him back this year. He's playing DH.
Well, he's probably only like a small deal though. I mean, for a guy that you just want to hit, that's the way that the league has gone to when it comes to the older guys. You find a DH out there, you're gonna pay him. But no, just the NL Central though, Doc, in general, man. Like
I don't think
I'm
that's what I
happy.
expected to be. Yeah,
Well,
it's right
wasn't-
where I expected to be.
To me, I wasn't. I'm not. I was never there. I mean, I'm happy for the Reds though and the Pirates. It's good to see those two teams back up. I was a big fan of the Reds back when they had the Brandon Phillips and all that era. Back when they had Chapman, when they were competing with the division, but they weren't winning anything. They were just kind of like a wild card team, and that was it.
Yeah,
I liked them then, and I was kind of rooting for them to be good. But now it's good to see the Reds there. The Brewers, they just find ways to still compete. When you think that they get rid of players, they got rid of fucking who's the pitcher that went to Baltimore just this year? They're number one.
Corbin Burns.
Yeah, they lost Burns. You think that they're maybe kind of like not rebuilding, but kind of like retooling, and they're still just competing. Like they're still playing good ball.
Yeah, they're going the wrong way. They've got a couple of prospects too. They got Churio and they got one other that I'm drawing a blank on the name right now. But they've got a couple of guys in the system that are moving up, and they're kind of plugging holes as they're coming. But I think like the NL Central is not the weakest division. I think the AL Central is the weakest division, but I think that this is like the most incomplete division in the sense that it's a very young division, guys that are finding their footing. The Pirates, you're looking at the O'Neill Cruz, who missed all last year, Cabrian Hayes. Like I said, Paul Skeen's going to make his way up there. The Cubs are a very young team, or will be a very young team with their prospects that'll be coming up. Cincinnati's a young team. I mean, it's not incomplete and missing pieces, just incomplete in that experience, the experience and having that footing and being that completely developed player, but it's going there. And this is going to be a very exciting division going forward. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what happens here. I think Milwaukee's going to fall off. I think it's going to be a Pittsburgh and Cincinnati division with the Cubs trying to fight for like a wild card spot or maybe even for a division title. I think that's kind of what we're going to be looking at for the next couple 2-3 years.
Yeah, I agree with you, Doc. Exciting to watch. You mentioned the word exciting. Jackson Holliday, son of former All-Star, in my opinion, really good player, Matt Holliday, finally got the call up this past middle of the week, and it's been a slow start to say. He's had 15 at bats in 4 games, 9 strikeouts. He hasn't really. He's got 1 RBI, good for him, and 1 hit. Is it just a slow start, or is it? I know some people are saying he's overrated.
No, it's 100% just a slow start. I watched this guy, as much of the minor leagues as I can with MLB TV, a lot of highlight stuff like that. Watching him coming up through, the highlights through school and everything. Definitely got to be excited about. You got to remember, this is a era with all the different levels in minor league baseball. This is an era where guys just don't come up at 20 years old anymore. Guys are coming up now between 22 and 26 years old. So for a guy to come up at 20, I mean, you've got to have an elite kind of talent to get that nod. I think that also being the number 1 prospect the end of last year, through the offseason into the start of this year on pretty much every board that exists, I think that the pressure to bring Holiday up, give him that opportunity. Plus, the Orioles are their window is now. The window is now between Adley Rutschman, Mountcastle. You just picked up Corbin Burns. You need everything that you possibly have to contend, and especially when you're looking at a team like the Yankees and the start that they're off to, we got to make moves. We got to get the pieces in place that we need, because if we fall too far behind and we're trying to play catch up, it may not happen after too long. You know what I mean? And the Orioles still have a very deep farm system. Kobe Mayo is still down there. Colton Cowser, still a lot of exciting talent in that farm system. So bringing up Holiday, I think, is natural. I think the struggles that he's finding is natural. Again, because you came up at 20, where most folks are not coming up these days. And if they are, a lot of times it's guys are coming up to pitch out of the bullpen, get that spot start, things like that. So it's not as big of a deal as a hitter that's seeing 500-600 ABs in a year and seeing those 100-mile-an-hour fastballs. So I think bringing him up I think that he's just having natural growing pains. We see it a lot with rookies adjusting because it is a much, like, you take him at the rookie leagues, high A, double A, the pitching there is a much different level of pitching as far as in terms of like pitch execution, spin rate, velocity, things like that from the AAA and major league level. I mean, he's seeing major league pitching now. You know what I'm saying? I know they were high on him after spring training. He was doing real good in spring training, which is one of the reasons that I think he got this nod, and I think he's going to adjust just fine. But this, again, going back to my point of his age, this guy did not spend 2 years at the AAA level like a lot of guys are doing right now. You know what I mean? They're getting really that full development, and they're pretty much MLB experience through AAA now because so many guys are going back and forth, and so many MLB veterans are down in AAA. So you're seeing MLB level talent down there. He obviously didn't have that much time to do that. So I think that he just got the nod early. He's going to ffigure it out. It may be a rough year. He may find his way back to AAA. You know what I mean? And if he does, he does. But I think next year he'll be just fine. Because eventually you got to rip the Band-Aid off. 20 or 26 years old, eventually you got to face major league pitching at the major league level in front of 50,000 screaming fans. So, it's going to happen one way or another. So better rip that Band-Aid now. Hopefully he's good to go by the All-Star break. Even if the overall numbers are low, if he's producing in that post All-Star break run where you need to start coming together as a team and putting that run together to top teams like the Yankees, or when the Rays eventually get hot. I mean, they've lost a couple of pieces, so I don't really know how well they're going to stand up this year. But when it comes time where it really matters to get that run going, that's where you need to be ready by, and that's why you make that call now. Let him struggle early in the year, and he'll be ready when you need him.
Yeah, like I said, Doc, I'm gonna pump the brakes on it too. Like it's too early for me to call a guy. I mean, I'm not quick to call a guy overrated. The same thing in football. Like I don't do it that early. And like you said, I mean, he's just coming in. Like he
we're like 6 games in?
Yeah, he climbed all 3 tiers last year.
Games in, something like that?
Yeah, he did all 3 tiers of the minors last year. He didn't see consistent from single A to double A to triple A. So now he's finally in the big leagues. I get it. And a name like Volpe, for example, yeah, he didn't start off like Holiday last year. Volpe was getting a lot of shit last year for his slow start.
Yeah.
And look what he's doing now. Year 2 in the big leagues. I know it's only 2 weeks in, but he's batting like 360. So just give Holiday a chance. And like you said, they need to get the pieces together in Baltimore, get the young core together. They don't want to fall too far behind New York because at least I do. I expect the Yankees offense to get hot when the weather gets hot. Yeah. I expect the Judge. I expect the Gleyber Torres to start waking up a little bit. I expect Udergo to wake up and the guys like that. So Baltimore's doing the right thing. They brought him up now. Get him more pitches. Let him see get him at bats.
Only one way to get experience. Yeah. Only one way to get experience.
You have to play. Like I said, this isn't like football where you can start or set a quarterback for 2 years and you got to let these guys get up now and get the playoff or the playing experience. And I think Holiday would just fine. He comes from a professional family with Matt Holiday. He'll be just fine. Just give him some time.
That'll be fine. I'm not thinking bust for him yet.
It's too early.
Like I said, there's still so much more talent in this farm system that's still making their way up. I mean, the Orioles are going to be a fun team for the next few years.
As a fan of the game, I my TV or my tablet, whatever I'm watching MLB on, is on the Orioles a lot, Doc. And we have 2 last things. So this one's a big one. The pitch clock. It's the second year.
Well, before we get off, you don't mind. Before we get off of like specific teams, we missed one division that I want to jump into. We kind of touched on the Dodgers already. I think that they're the best team on paper. Diamondbacks are becoming very exciting. Talk of the town, as I heard it, nonstop in that opening game. 13 runs in that second inning. And I want to talk about what I think is really the talk of the MLB, and that is not for good reasons. I think the joke of Major League Baseball. I don't know how a team put this much effort, this much money, make this many solid moves in the right direction and still just continue to shit the bed game after game, week after week, year after year. And that is the San Diego Padres. I don't know what the problem is. I don't know if it's a manager thing. I mean, ownership obviously is trying to win. They've made moves. Xander Bogaerts, they got Machado, they got Tatis. They didn't keep Juan Soto. And to their defense, Juan Soto was not playing well in San Diego. But you look at pitching, they got Yu Darvish. They absolutely fleeced the White Sox for Dylan Cease. Musgrove. I mean, they have made all of the moves to be the best team and compete with the Dodgers, and they just can't do it, and I find it laughable. And it's comical to me how poor this team has performed year after year. Machado's batting 239, Bogart's 219, Kim 219, Eddie Rosario they just brought in this year 211, Higashioka, former Yankee, who I don't think hit all that well with the Yankees historically, but 154 I think is even low for him.
He's a field definitely, but yes,
yeah. But like, my God, dude, you got $300 million contracts on this team between Machado, Tatis, or at least close to it, and Bogarts. You poured the money. They're all great players. So now you gotta break it down from a management perspective and figure out where you're going wrong. Because it ain't the talent. Why are we losing? Why are we struggling? You know what I mean? And I look at it with Chicago, and it's the same argument that I make for Chicago. We have no fucking coaching. Pedro Griffel is not a goddamn coach. Tony La Russa was a joke to bring back. We haven't had a pitching coach, and I don't know how long, because Don Cooper, when we had him, was not an elite pitching coach. Our training, we used to have Herb Schneider was a great trainer. Kept us from getting injured. Now we don't have that. So you got to look at this team and figure out in the management and the coaching side of things what is wrong. And for a team that has traded so many top prospects for these veterans that they brought in, Juan Soto, Dylan Cease, when they picked up Machado was a free agency signing. The guys that they brought over in the prospects they've given up, and to still have the depth that they have one of the best producing farm systems in Major League Baseball. But then they get up to the major leagues and they just can't do it. They can't do it. Yeah. It's laughable to me.
I've said it, like, I don't trust San Diego anymore. I mean,
nope.
I know that they were in the NLCS, I believe 2 years ago. It was 2 years ago when the Phillies made the World Series. They were the home team. Like, the Padres had the home field for the NLCS, and the Phillies won. And we've seen them. They buy the talent like they're the Dodgers, like they're the Yankees, like the Red Sox used to do, and they just don't compete like those teams do. I know the Yankees haven't won since 2009, but damn sure they compete. They'll get you to a deep playoff run. They just won't win. Boston, they've had their run. The Dodgers, they've had runs. They just can't close off series neither. But they treat
this team can't even get there. They're not even in contention for a division.
Yeah, and they're not. And then they let Juan Soto go, who I get it. He wasn't competing at his level like he was with the Nationals, and we understand that. But now
y'all gave up almost nothing too. Props to y'all's front office, because y'all find a way to make trades without giving up shit, and I'll never understand it.
Not sure who we had in the San Diego executive office like we have Derek Jeter in Miami, but we got nothing for Soto, and we're not saying we're going to sign him. He might walk. He's a 1-year deal. We don't know if we're going to pay for him. Pete Alonso's a free agent. We'll talk about that in the summertime most likely, but
I think he's your best move, because when you're talking about youth, he's your best move to keep long term.
Yeah, I agree, and that's going to be a conversation down in August, September, October timeframe. But yeah, back to the Padres. It's just it is laughable. Like I said, they think that they are. Well, they thought their teams like I said, those teams that buy, and they just don't compete. They don't win games, like you said. There's games where they should win, and they're horrible when it comes to one-score games or like 1-run, 2-run games. They're horrible in that department too. Like they just can't clutch it up, and they can't win games they should win.
I mean, the only thing that I can say, to be fair, is this is developing into one of the better divisions in all of baseball, top to bottom. I mean, you take the Colorado Rockies out, this is a solid division.
If they wake up.
The Padres are not performing.
It's a slow start right now for them.
Right. The Padres are not performing, but on paper they are a fantastic team. And as a baseball fan, it's it's upsetting to see them struggle like this. Giants are like slowing down in the moves. They did make a couple of moves this offseason, but another team that can absolutely compete, and another team that we've seen compete that on paper were not very good. The Diamondbacks are coming, and the Padres. So this is absolutely a solid division top to bottom. But I wholeheartedly, and this is even a couple of years ago, it was really just the Dodgers and the Padres with a sprinkle of the Giants. I know the Giants had that one like super late run where they just went on and like were unstoppable and ended up either taking that wild card of the division. I don't remember.
It was a division. It was 21 or 22. They were young, and then like they kind of I think it was 21 because it was 22 because they regressed last year.
Yeah, and they came out of nowhere and just had a very good late run, took the division. But again, the Padres are a team that should be shutting the Giants down. The Padres are a team that should not be allowing the Giants to have that kind of sway in the division. You know what I mean? This is a Diamondbacks team that's good and has the ability to compete, but the Padres should be closing the door on that and going, no, this is between us and LA, but the Padres just can't stand up. And that's what the comical thing is here. And this is where I have to go back into like the last three managers that we've seen in San Diego just haven't made sense to me. Green was in there. I don't even know who it is right now.
Melvin?
Is it? Yeah, no, it is Melvin. That's right, because he came over from the Brewers, I think, and brought up. Who did he bring with him from the Brewers?
Yeah, I don't remember who he brought up.
I don't remember. They picked up it was either a trade or a free agent signing, like right after he signed. I like Bob Melvin. I mean, I don't know that he's a problem. I like him better than Green. But like, dude, you gotta strip it down and figure out what's going on because this team should not be struggling like this.
It's not Bob Melvin. Bob Melvin was last year in 22. He's with the Giants now.
Yeah, no, it was the A's that he came over from, I think.
Yeah. He was with the A's from 11 to 21, and then he came the year after, and then the Giants.
Yeah, and I forgot who came over with him. They traded for somebody from the A's, I think, after he came over. No, who's there now? Who's there now?
I would have to look. I just googled Bob Melvin's name. Let me.
Who's their fucking skipper?
And it's crazy because Bob Melvin's had a decent career. The manager right now is Mike Schilt, former
Mike Schilt.
Mike Schilt. Yeah, I'm not sure where he came from, to be honest, Doc. But yeah, that's the Padres, man. It's disappointing. It's disappointing. They are disappointing as can be for the game. And one last topic, and it's been big because Shane Bieber got hurt, Strider got hurt from the Braves, which has been announced. He's missing the rest of the season. He was questionable. They didn't know what's going to happen. And it's been raising a lot of eyebrows, that pitching clock, Doc. And it started last year. They did shorten it this year a little bit. And MLBPA, they are saying that it's hurting the arms. And the MLB's pushed back saying there's not enough data, which I agree with MLB on this one. There is not enough data to raise speculation about the arms yet because you haven't had like a long-term value. And apparently the injuries last year were actually lower than the years leading up to it. So according to MLB's data, and I agree with MLB here. I think the pitching clock is not ruining the pitcher's arms. I think the problem is they throw 100 fucking miles per hour. And nowadays, pitchers back in the day, it used to be a fucking sin to get Tommy John. Nowadays, you get Tommy John, it's like it relieves at a younger age, it seems like. A lot of guys actually opt for Tommy John. They don't sit there and fight it. They prefer
well, the return now on Tommy John is significantly high. It used to be a career ender. Yeah, like you said.
Yeah, but now it's not. And I don't believe that the data stands yet for the MLBPA yet because it's only a year in, a couple weeks in. I can't sit here and say that.
I mean, the data is there. The data is there because they used the pitch clock for a couple of years in the minor leagues, and I don't recall significant pitching injuries in the leagues that they were using it. I'm not a fan of the pitch clock. Let me start with that. I'm not a fan of the pitch clock. I think there's other ways to control pace of play without putting a ridiculous pitch clock on because it's like baseball is one of those sports that is not a continuous flow. You know what I mean? So like there's that mentality of you just swung and missed at a pitch and now you got to think what's coming next. You don't have that in other sports. Hockey, like Basketball, am I getting a pass? Basketball, you're talking about what move, what crossover you're going to do. Okay, so there's a little bit of mental to that. Football, you're lining up. You're not the one calling the play. You're lining up, and you're like, hey, I'm getting open. The ball's coming to me, or it's not. You know what I'm saying? There's so much that goes into baseball, and to be able to like swing and miss at a pitch, step out, and then you have like 4 seconds to get back in the box to set by that 5th second and look at the pitcher is kind of wild to me. I don't think that the pace of play is what's driving the injury.
They ramp up 100 miles per hour. Like, I mean, that's.
I think the injury is just caused by we're seeing pitches at a level that we've never seen before. We used to have a unicorn that could have a 12-inch break on a curveball or an 18-inch break on a curveball. Now you're seeing it left and right. You're seeing, guys are just putting more pressure on their arm with the way they're throwing pitches to get that extra break, to get those extra miles an hour. You had Nolan Ryan back in the day throwing 100 miles an hour, and now I can probably name 12 guys off the top of my head without even thinking about it that are throwing 100 miles an hour in the Major League Baseball. You know what I mean? When you're putting that much more pressure and work on your arm, you're going to find more injury. You know what I'm saying? It's natural. But I don't think the pitch clock is the issue as far as injury. But again, I'm not a fan of it. I'd like to see it go away. Let the game play naturally, man. This game has been around since like 1882 was when like the first professional baseball league was founded or something. It ain't going under because of pace of play. All right.
The pace of play based on this is back on the short-term data is last year the ratings were up a little bit compared to the years past. I'm okay with the pitch clock. I don't need a pitcher that spends literally 3 minutes before a pitch in between, because there's a lot of times you see 3 to 5 minutes in between pitches. Now, not all the time, but a lot.
No, I agree, and that's where you got to find that medium. But dude, 13 seconds between pitches is ridiculous.
I think it's 15 now. I think it's 15 with
13.
no runners on.
13, and you have to be set by 8. I'm pretty sure it's 13.
I know it went down. I thought it was 15 because with runners on, it's 20. I think it's 15 without runners on, and then the set thing might be true. But
every time I know 8 seconds because that's when the umpire will call.
8 seconds just sounds right. But.
Yeah, that's when the umpire will call. And the shitty thing is, it's if you are not set in the box and looking at the pitcher by that 8 seconds.
Well,
but that's where I get pissed. That's where I get pissed is the call, ball, and strike on that bullshit and the issues that it causes. You know what I do when I umpire? If you're taking more than 15, 20 seconds, I start doing this. We're not doing 3-4 minutes between, but we get about 8 of these, and I'm calling ball or strike then. Because then it lets everybody know, like, hey, it's time to
it's
breaking news from the MLB. Tommy Pham close to signing a minor league deal with the White Sox per multiple reports. Congrats to the White Sox. That's going to get you to the playoffs.
But it's 15 seconds.
Yeah, it is. It is. I did just look it up. I was gonna say that. But you start doing this. It lets the coaches know, hey, you need to tell your players to get in the box. Let the pitchers know, hey, I got to start delivering. And let the batter know, I got to get in the box and get ready. Because I get to this, and depending on who is the delay, is who I'm calling it on. But still, 15 seconds is still, I don't know. It's real quick. I mean, you're putting a foot out. You're trying to catch a sign. You know what I mean? You got people on. You're trying to take a sign for a hit and run, a hold for a steal, a squeeze play, whatever the case is. I mean, and then you're trying to mentally, what is he going to throw me here? And especially with baseball being an analytical and data-driven as it is now, you're trying to figure out, like, okay, what pitch is coming? The scouting report said in this position he gets ahead in the count and he's more likely to throw a slider low and away. Like, that's what the game is all about now.
No, I mean, it's unfortunate the pitching. It's because Bieber and Strider got hurt. I mean, you have two of the biggest names in pitching. I mean, Bieber's one of the best.
But we also just have years where that happens. We have years where, like, all the stars in the MLB get hurt. And you look at it, Cole's out, Bieber, Strider. This isn't the first year something like that's happened.
And by the way, if Cole would have been Tommy John this year, because that was the questionable thing, I wasn't going to blame the pitching clock. I mean, it just happened. Maybe he just got hurt. I mean, it sucks. I mean, but like I say, when you're throwing 100 miles per hour,
yeah,
most of the time, I mean, your elbow and your arm, it gets a little fried. I mean, it's just the way that science works in the human body. It's just the way it goes, unfortunately.
That's what it is. It's simply, in my opinion, it's simply the added stress on the arm and the way pitches are being delivered and the extra rotation spin rates that they're trying to get on it, the extra velocity, everything else. It is what it is.
And speaking of it is what it is, Doc, this is a great episode, man. And I can't wait. Jake and me been saying we can't wait to get you in here. And then when you're finally back, we took a little too long. Something happened with Jake, unfortunate, but hey, we're gonna be here next time too. We're gonna start doing some baseball. The three of us, so we're the three baseball minds of the show. It's good to see baseball, in my opinion, kicking ass. I mean, it really is.
Well, I think we got one more topic real quick we have to hit on.
Just basically, I was trying to.
I know, but you want to say this for next week for Jake?
Let's say it for next week because.
All right, let's say it for next week
because he kind of fucked us up with the pitch clock too, real quick. What was the? We'll talk about that because that came with. First off, it was a.
I could talk all day on that one. We could do a whole hour show just on that one.
Well, before we talk, I'm not going to talk about. But did you see that video I sent you? It was the actual Gleyber Torres where the pitcher stepped off because he missed his footing. And then so he jumps right back in like he still was pitching. So he's off the mound. He never met eye contact with Gleyber, and it was still fucking 2-3 inches off.
And it was still 6 inches above the plate. Yeah, no, there's.
Dude, our booth was ripping Angel Hernandez. We're like, dude, okay, I get it. Maybe it was okay to pitch it, but damn, dude, the ball was fucking super high. Like, what do you want Gleyber to do? Get a tennis racket?
I am going to send you a video. There's one you can Google. It was the Schwarber ejection where he lost his shit. The Phillies. Brewer. No, but you got to see the consistency.
No, I remember. Yeah, I remember. I will say,
we'll talk about it next week, really hit on. I will say at least it's consistent, but I'm going to send you a video because in preparation, I frequently YouTube videos for updates and new ones. But I'm going to send you one that is like, dude, it is bad.
Send it to me and Jake, but Doc, no, I mean, we'll talk Angel Hernandez this next episode, and just want to say great episode.
Good to be back, dude. Good to finally get on baseball.
Yeah, and if everyone's listening out there, like I said, we're gonna start doing a live episode next week. We're gonna get all 6 of us in here for the first time. We're gonna do a live NFL mock draft for the draft. We're all gonna give our picks 1 through 32, including trades. And spoiler, I have a team trading up very high with the Denver Broncos. I think Denver will trade down. That's my spoiler right now, but we will be doing that next week, probably Monday or Tuesday. Right before the draft, we're going to talk some basketball. The playoffs are kicking off. Good luck to your Bulls, Doc, as they're in the play-in. My Heat are also in the play-in. So congrats. And like I said, it was a fun episode, my friend.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. An absolute pleasure to be here. So glad I could finally make it on for baseball. Looking forward to continuing this further. Sorry I've been out, man. The surgery and then recovery. And then I was real sick last week. So it's just one thing after the other lately, but should be back now full time. So. Ready for it.
Like I said, I understand that. Like I said, we have some basketball content coming our way. We have the draft coming up. Following the draft, we're going to do some NFL stuff, previewing the season, because that's going to be coming up, previewing some names, some fantasy stuff. We're going to do some fantasy episodes too. So, yeah, we have a lot coming up. It's the summer for football, but it's still a lot to talk about with basketball, baseball, and the season coming up. But, Doc, great episode. I'm Mark Davis.
Sir.
That's Nick the Doc Strickland. Shout out to the rest of All About Paul's podcast crew, and we are out.
Thank you for checking out another episode of All About the Balls podcast. We want to thank all of our listeners and supporters of the Sack House. You can listen to the show on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. And don't forget to subscribe and give us a follow on Twitter and Instagram at the Sack House.